Okay, let's talk about something that's probably tucked away in the darkest corner of your basement. It's a piece of equipment that works tirelessly to protect your home from, well, water. It is your absolute first line of defense against a flooded basement. But here's the catch. It is not going to last forever.
And that's the million-dollar question we're tackling, isn't it? This silent guardian, your sump pump, has a definite shelf life. Knowing what to expect and, more importantly, what to watch out for can honestly be the difference between a dry, happy home and an absolute disaster.
So, to figure out your pump's lifespan, the very first step is to know what kind you're working with. Because, and this is key, not all pumps are created equal. It really is a tale of two very different designs.
But before we get into all the specifics, let's just get the main answer out there. The general rule of thumb for most sump pumps you'd find in a home is a lifespan of about 5 to 10 years. That's the window you really want to keep in your head.
And you know, it's pretty fascinating how the design has a direct impact on how long it lasts. So on one side, you've got the submersible pump. Its motor is totally sealed and it actually operates underwater. This design keeps it cool, makes it quieter, and they tend to last longer, pushing that 8 to 10 year mark. Then on the other side, you have the pedestal pump. You'll recognize it because its motor sits up on a little stalk out of the water. Now, while it's a bit easier to get to for service, this design often means a shorter life, usually somewhere in that 5 to 7 year range.
Right, so that 5 to 10 year range is just an average. The reality is, there are a bunch of factors, let's call them the enemies of your pump, that can seriously shorten that lifespan and push it way down to the lower end of that scale.
Let's break these down. First off, quality really matters. A heavy-duty pump made of cast iron is just built to last longer than a cheaper plastic one. Simple as that. Second, how often does it actually run? I mean, if you live somewhere with a lot of groundwater or constant heavy rain, your pump is working overtime, and all that use just wears everything down. Then you have power cycling. That's the constant starting and stopping, which puts a ton of stress on the motor and the float switch. And finally, the environment itself. A gunky, dirty sump pit full of sediment can clog the pump's intake, making it work way harder until it just burns out.
Okay, but here's the good news. A failing pump doesn't usually just die in silence. It sends out warning signs. You can always call them cries for help. The real trick is just knowing how to listen for them.
So what exactly should you be listening and looking for? Are you hearing weird grinding or screeching noises? That could be worn-out bearings. What about this? Is the pump running all the time, even when it's totally dry outside? That could be a stuck switch. And then, of course, the obvious stuff. If you test it and it doesn't turn on, or you're always calling for repairs, or it just isn't moving water the way it used to, it's telling you its time is pretty much up.
But it is not all doom and gloom. You are definitely not powerless here. By being just a little proactive, you can fight back against those enemies we were talking about. In fact, what we're about to cover is probably the single most important thing you can do to push your pump's life closer to that 10-year mark. Let's look at the action plan.
This little checklist right here is your best friend. First, test it every month. Seriously, just pour a bucket of water into the pit, see if it kicks on, and just as importantly, shuts off correctly. Second, clean the intake. While you're down there, just check the screen for any gunk or debris that could cause a clog. Third, take a quick walk outside and inspect the discharge line. Make sure it's clear and aiming water away from your house. Fourth, check the float. Just make sure it can move up and down freely and isn't getting snagged. And finally, think about a backup system. It's not just for power outages, it can also take a lot of the workload off your main pump during a huge storm.
So, after all of that, what's the big takeaway? What's the most important thing to remember? It really just comes down to understanding that your sump pump isn't something you can just forget about. It's a vital machine that needs a little attention to protect your home.
You know, this quote from our source material really says it all perfectly. The lifespan isn't some fixed number, it's a range. And the two things that you control, choosing a quality pump in the first place and doing that regular maintenance, are what decide whether you get 5 years of service or 10.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final and pretty crucial question for you. It's not just about how old your pump is in years, but how ready it is for its next big test. After everything we've just talked about, can you confidently say your silent guardian is ready for that next storm? Because at the end of the day, being prepared is the best defense you've got.